This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Marie Catherine Massie.
Interestingly, I have a close friend. Actually, he works at a nearby church, which is a very conservative church. And I also have a lot of friends who are part of the liberal type churches.
Mm-hmm.
And the conservative, for example, this church, they will, like, if they see a couple in the church is living together before getting the ceremony done, right? So they won't even listen to you then. What if you are just roommates? Nothing is going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But in their view, it's just wrong. And when something is wrong, it's just wrong. So that's where the most of the U.S. politics gets involved in the religion.
Mm-hmm.
And also there are other issues too, because I think conservatives, they believe, I'm talking about religiously conservative, they believe that the US should be understood as a Christian nation.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a tension between, I think no one really talks about, um, because then the Constitution says that you can have no religion or have any religion,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. So we, at a political level, we would say there's a separation of church and the state. But that's not accepted among, that's not the idea that conservative Christians like.
But then, like in those conservative Christian, if one is from a Baptist church and like the other one is from another denomination, are they still going to consider that they're under the same like umbrella?
Oh, you mean they both are Christians?
Yeah.
No, I think it's the idea. Okay, I'm smiling because is there a difference between a French and a French Canadian?
Yes.
It's the same thing. Some, unfortunately, it goes to extremes. I was in a state in the Midwest. I was living in a town which was very diverse. It had an university, a lot of international students. I used to live with a family, white couple, older. They were evangelicals.
Mm-hmm.
And the gentleman and I, we used to go to get grocery and all. And whenever he would pass by a Catholic church or a Methodist church or a Presbyterian church, he would use this phrase. He would say, "Oh, they don't have gospel in them." And I was really confused, right?
Okay.
Uh, because I still, to this day, don't understand what do they mean when they use this term gospel, right? And I don't know if they were able to explain that to me too. Uh, so there's this tension that we are going to heaven and these people are going to hell. Because the same family, the lady, uh, she might be in 60s then. So one of her sister's husband was dying in a hospital,
Okay.
and he was a Roman Catholic. This lady's concern was if he does not accept Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior, he's going to go to hell. In my mind, okay, so Catholics are Christian too. They also believe in the same Christ you believe in. But at a grassroots level, people don't view it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens at both the sides because I attended there was a chapel, Catholic chapel there. I attended a service there, Mass. And the priest was delivering a sermon, and I was surprised. What he was saying was, "Oh, if you want to get saved, you should come to this is the place," and all that. And I got a chance in 2012 with a group of students. We went to Vatican, and we were supposed to meet with the Pope, Pope Benedict the 16th, but he was ill.
Oh no.
And I don't know. I mean, big
Were,
guy. They can say,
were you studying theology?
yes,
Oh,
I was. Yeah.
that's awesome.
So this course was early Christianity in Rome, I think. I don't remember the course's name. And we went there and we met with the Pope's representative. He was a very intelligent British guy. And we went and you were like, yeah, students can ask questions. And all. So I was like, my question is, I attended a mass in the US, and the priest was teaching this from the pulpit. And he was saying that they are right, the others are wrong. And, like at a political, it is also a political thing. At a political level, these leaders will always refer to documents. So he was like, no, 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 here's a document, here's a letter he shared us, which says all mainline churches, and I think they had names, Lutherans and Methodists and Episcopal in the
Mhm.
US and Presbyterians, that we agree that any sacrament is when a baby's baptized or christening is
Oh
done,
yeah.
right?
I had that done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As a baby?
Yes.
Oh, cool. So if that's done in any of these churches, the Catholic Church accepts it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we also sing Lutheran hymns and Methodist hymns. And I said, but I don't think that's the case at a grassroots level. He was like, yeah, things are getting there. We are working hard on that. We need funds and all, the same political speech that a lot of politicians make. So I would say, huge disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another story. Then I'll listen to your baptism story. I was in hospital. I was with someone, and it was in a room because from an emergency they shifted the patient there, and I was just there. There was an older couple. But I knew the gentleman was 81. I just knew because I overheard, which I shouldn't have done, but I kind of overheard. When a nurse comes, okay, tell me your date of birth and all that. So the gentleman was waiting. He had some sort of injury, and he was waiting for an X-ray guy. Sorry, MRI guy, and not CAT scan. Sorry, and his wife was with him, and they waited for 3.5 hours. I was feeling really bad, and they took him, brought him back, and now they were like, yeah, the doctor will come and finalize because the doctor has to say, okay, go home and take Tylenol and feel better. So after 4 hours or so, I was like, yeah, they're not here. So I said, would you like something to eat?
Mm-hmm.
And they were quiet. Long story short, I convinced them to. I had 2 granola bars and a juice bottle. I convinced them to take those bars, which they did. And I don't know, they used a phrase. I don't remember. It might have some sort of religious flavor to it.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, do you go to a mass here or something? Instead of answering that question, either the gentleman or his wife asked me, are you a Catholic? No, I was stupid. Instead of saying yes or no, understanding that they are not philosophers or theologians, right? I was like, I try to see God's grace beyond the walls of a church and all, and they were really confused. And their face was like, he's not one of us. So they were a bit disappointed, I guess. Or they might be thinking, oh, this guy's going to go to hell. I don't know, right? They did like my gesture. But I think that's all a Christian should do. I don't think a Christian is supposed to ask another Christian, are you saved? Otherwise, you're going to go to hell. Actually, text you how to get to heaven.
I wonder if it's the same in like other religion, because they have denomination also like in Islam. Like I wonder when a Muslim meet another Muslim, are they like, oh, are you this or this? And like,
You want me to speak to that?
Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my background is from Pakistan, so I have a lot of knowledge of, although I was young when I was there, but still, in Islam, so let's talk about politics.
Oopsie.
So Saudi Arabia is a Sunni nation.
Okay.
Sunni is a sect of Islam. And I don't know if I should go in detail. Let's see how much time we have. What do they believe in
Yeah.
versus Shiites?
Yeah. Believe it or not, we learned that in high school in Canada.
What?
Yeah, we have like religion of the world, and
Yeah.
we learn about Sunnite and Shiite. Like I don't know much, but we just know little things here.
Yeah, but at least you know that Iran is here.
We don't know which country is what. We just kind of like learn like roughly, like a little bit, like what one believe in, what the other.
The biggest difference as an artist, as a filmmaker and actor, Shias use a lot of black. So their outfits, they appreciate more black color
Mm-hmm.
over white. So when you see their leaders being dressed up, Arabs from Saudi Arabia or that belt, they'll be wearing white mostly. However, Iranians, religious, extremely religious, I should say, and leaders, you'll see them mostly in black. And there's a history to that. Why?
Mm-hmm.
But these two countries don't get along.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see the global politics, Saudi Arabia is very close to the US, Iran is not.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, Iran is closer to Russia. See, the world is so divided, right?
Sure.
And so those two sects, now people in countries like Pakistan, or because Pakistani Muslims are, I think, more vocal than, say, UAE. UAE has very strict laws. You go to Dubai, you can't really take a megaphone and say the other group sucks, right? No. So Sunnis in general, at a grassroots level, people would claim Shias will go to hell because they are not true Muslims.
Okay.
Right? So the tension is there. Yes.
Okay.
The same kind of tension is there. And a lot of times it gets bloody where they kill each other depending on what. Because sometimes, the leaders would say something or do something, and then the whole flock begins to fight, as in any other country, and as in Christian history in the UK, and, which is really sad.
Yeah,
but,
this one was very bloody.
Yeah. And I assume there might be some sort of divisions, which I don't know about in Hinduism or other religions too. But because these two religions, Islam and Christianity, are all over the world, so that kind of tension remains there. And
it'd be so much simpler if people could just like learn to live with each other,
because they don't listen, that's the thing. These groups, why would they fight? Because they don't listen. Listening needs you to set aside your belief system and create a room for the others to say and let that thought process sit there. But what we try to do is we take our thought process, our belief system, and if somebody begins to say something, we push that away and say, we don't have a room for you. And the same principle applies to racism. It's about me. People should be like me here. Why are you here? Same about the thought process, belief system. And then when you see these groups, I don't know if it's in Canada, but colleges and even like social events, I've noticed, within 3 minutes, you would see people forming groups. Like you go to a film premiere or wherever, right? So the groups will emerge because people will see who looks like me. Because internally we are thinking, or our system is telling you, walk to the person or a group that's going to accept you. Because we don't like to be judged, we don't like to be challenged, mostly people.
Yeah.
And then there are people who do crazy things, like they will leave home like you, and then, okay, I'm going to plant trees like Johnny Appleseed. You know Johnny Appleseed story? Oh, you don't know that guy? I think he was Canadian.
Really?
All right, just a second. Because I don't want to like mix up his background. All right. American
Gardener.
But I don't know if then North America was this one, 1774.
I think that was right when around the Revolution, I believe.
All right. I totally forgot my question about
I was listening to a podcast coming here
Okay,
about
right.
when the U.S. tried to take over Quebec City, the place where you've been to, and I think that's the years roughly that they were talking about, because they were talking about the 1775, and I think it was right after.
So Johnny Appleseed, what he did, he was a folk hero who planted apple orchards across the American frontier in the early 1800s. He was nomadic, like you, right?
Yeah.
Traveling west from Pennsylvania through Ohio and Indiana, planting seeds and spreading the gospel. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a prayer thing too. I think long time ago people used to sing before meals, which I don't really remember, but so that's Johnny Appleseed guy. I thought maybe you got influenced by him. That's why you were like, okay, I'm gonna do
No.
that.
It's a big thing. Like, it's a rite of passage for Canadians. Like, it's just like a normal thing for a lot of people, a lot of youth. Just go out west and they plant some trees, and you can actually make like a lot of money.
Mm.
And a lot of students do that over their university years. So when they finish, they're debt free.
Wow, that's great. So you have debt system in Canada too?
Yeah, I
Student
mean,
debt?
university doesn't cost as much as it does here.
Mhm.
I think, and I was very fortunate. My parents paid for my studies, um, and so I think for me, just the courses were $3,000 a year for 3 years.
3,000. Okay.
So it was 9,000 total.
Mm.
And but then you had like, because I was in film school, so there was like books and films and like definitely like shooting stuff. So like there was like a cost on top of it. But I just know that in the US it's so much more. But because my parents made a certain amount of money, I was not allowed to get loans and grants from the government, but a lot of my friends were. And so like I worked part-time during university, because I still had to pay for my apartment and like my food. Um so I guess it was kind of hard while in university to, like, I was bartender and like a server, as
Mhm.
many people
Yeah.
do, because that was before I discovered tree planting. I wish I knew about it before. But yeah, so like I did that, and then when I finished, I didn't have any debts, which is very lucky.
Mhm.
Where like some of my friends who were lucky enough to get the grants and the loans, like I think they ended up with like $30,000 or $40,000 in debts, which I know is absolutely nothing compared to what like American people. Yeah, it's funny. I meet so many like American parents that actually send their kids to McGill, because they say that even if you pay to be a like foreign student, it's like $10,000 a year Canadian. They say that it's cheaper to send them to McGill for 3 years and pay for their like apartment and stuff than.
Way cheaper, depending what school you
Yeah,
go to.
and it's still a really good school.
Yeah, I've heard about that actually, and I think this is my experience, and I learned it through my own uh, journey. The schools in the US has a subculture. Like I was able to tell if someone went to a private college or university versus a state
Okay.
university. Um,
And it's very snobby, right? Like if someone in the US, right?
yeah,
Especially Ivy
and some people, hey, I have a couple of Ivy Leagues on my resume. So,
I'm mainly talking about the newer generations, if I'm being honest.
yeah.
I thought it was a really good option, because I think we have like a great system in Canada, and I do think that, education should be affordable. And for me, like university, I think is something that everyone should have the chance to experience. Because for me, it's not just a question of like wanting a job. It's not just like, you go to school, so like there's a finality to it. For me, like university, the most important thing is that you learn to think for yourself. And I had a great teacher. He was his name was Bernard Perron. He was a film teacher. So much French, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think he's the head of the department now at the University of Montreal. But basically, I think he gave me the most valuable lesson that I've ever had in my life. So, first class, okay, my first class ever in university. we sit there, and of course I didn't do my readings because it's like the first class and I'm 19 years old. And he tells us about this great, it was an editing class, but so we had like a few kind of like lectures, and then eventually we were going to do like some practical stuff. We did get to do editing on a Steenbeck, pair with an Akai, so like those like 16 millimeters like rolls of film, and we got to cut it and like do it like manually. So wonderful class. But yeah, the first course, we sit down, and for like 1.5 hours, Bernard teach us about, I can't remember who the name was, but this person who was like the best editor and have invented all of those techniques. And at some point he asked if anyone has done their readings. And no one did because it was summer and it was the first class. And so basically he proceeded to tell us that this person was not real. He gave us an hour and a half class about a medical person that never existed, techniques that never existed, because he wanted us to learn the most important lesson. To never put like authority figures on a pedestal. Not sure how to say that in English.
Pedestal, yeah.
Yeah, pedestal. And to actually double check and check your sources all the time, and learn to think for yourself, and like make sure that even if someone is a religious figure, a political figure, is like a teacher, a police officer, that like we know our stuff, And I thought that was like the most beautiful lesson that I could get from university.
No, that's great, because I think in the US there is this tension I have seen in my experience, especially when it comes to conservative Christians. Not every conservative, but many conservative Christians. They believe you should not go to college, you should not go to a school because they will do you brainwashing, or they are just anti-God, or they will teach you. This tension actually begins at an elementary level, because a lot of conservatives want to have their kids homeschooled, because if you go to school, they'll teach you evolution, and we don't believe in evolution. But again, I think the missing part is the listening. Because, for example, sorry to interrupt, but I know about Islam.
Yeah.
I know about Quranic verses and some concepts and all. Now, I have that freedom to identify with another different religion versus Islam, right? But having knowledge or awareness of something that you don't agree with or you don't identify with, I don't think there's something wrong with that. It goes back to the same idea. For example, if you go to an ethnic neighborhood or a restaurant, you might not like to eat what they like on your day-to-day basis, but having an exposure or knowing that, oh, they eat this thing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But that's a huge topic. It's a topic of conflict in the US. And there has been a lot of speakers, I think, more from the political side, who has been arguing and advocating to shut down the Ivy League schools, as an example. And Ivy League, not in a way like you earlier mentioned, more snooty, but by Ivy League, I mean the schools that are celebrated around the world for their contribution and significant contribution in the world, different disciplines. What you said, that's also true. Students who study at highly expensive or well celebrated institutions, sometimes they do develop that arrogance. Oh, I went to that school. You did not go to that school, right? And but I think that varies from a human to.
But more, I think what I meant was not because I think those people are snobby or anything. I thought it more matters in the US when you apply for a job, for example. And I just know that some people are feeling uncomfortable saying that they went to like a state college. It's a bit different where I'm from. It's more a program that is good in a university. I'll give you like an easy example. McGill is a great university, but it doesn't have a film program. You can do like a minor in film studies, but what is the point if you want to be a filmmaker to go study medicine, So like for us, like, it's just like, okay, Concordia has like a great film program. I studied at University of Montreal, where it's more like film studies, and we did have some film production classes. And personally, like, I was really happy with the way it went, because I got to study a lot of the history, but also like get my hands on and have like, oh, also we work only with film. We didn't work with digital, which I thought was so important, because you only got like 4 rolls.
Right.
So you better think about the shots that you're
Mm.
gonna do. But I remember at the time, it was really hard for me, because like the good university for film were Concordia and UQAM.
Mm.
But I didn't have a portfolio because I studied acting in Cégep. Do you know Cégep?
No.
Okay, so let's talk.
Can't even use that word. Cégep.
Yeah, okay.
Cégep.
So in the 60s, during la Révolution Tranquille, the Tranquil Revolution, you have to look that one up because I'm not sure how the translation goes.
And she did tell me she'll teach me French when probably the camera was not rolling. So I'm saying that it's on the record now, so you don't.
Yeah, so in the 60s, after a period called La Grande Noirceur, the Big Darkness, we had this prime minister who was like very, very conservative. And he had like the church helping out with education and also with healthcare. And he was like the prime minister for like a very long time. So when he died, the Liberal Party like came to power, and it was the 60s, and it was in pair with the rest of the world, where like young people were like wanting to be educated. And there was a big disparity between French Canadian and English Canadian. French Canadian were like notoriously more poor. So to help with that, the Cégep was created. So the Cégep is basically like a higher education level that is not university. So we go to elementary school until like 6th grade. Then we go to high school from like 7 to 11.
Okay.
So that's high school for us. We don't have like the middle school thing that you guys have. And then you go to Cégep or not. So you can either do a 6 year of high school and do like a technical thing. So you can be a plumber, you can be like a salesman. Like there's some, and very good money in the in that field, honestly. Yeah, those skills, like, yeah, skilled workers, or like it's a big deal right now. I have a friend who's like studying electricity, and when he's out of school, he's gonna be set for life.
Still, I think it's the same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're really a plastic surgeon or a well-celebrated lawyer.
Yeah. It's just like, I remember when I was in university, like my parents were like, you have to go to university, you have to go to university. And so my whole generation, we all went to university. And then a lot of us were having, like, I've been fortunate to always be employed, but like, other people were struggling with like their degree to get some work. So like, I think it's just important to mention that like skilled labor.
I think it's the same. It was, I should say, the same in the U.S. There was a gentleman actually. He's in one of our movies, and he's a great guy. He shared that all the hospitals in Oman or Dubai is designed by him. He was working for a company, and he mentioned, before social media, that generation was expected to go to college to get a degree, because a degree will make you secure a white collar job or earn good living.
Yeah.
But then the social media came, and kids on social media began making more money than the white collar people, and everything became online. Even like a lot of lawyers, they were like, okay, people just go online, they download a form, and they don't need an attorney. So things have really shifted.
Yeah.
And I think what you talked about earlier, I thought that was a question where if you are looking for a job and you have a degree from, say, Harvard or Yale or Columbia, you will be welcomed more. It depends. It's very subjective. As an example. So far, I might have worked with more than 100 actors. And I have directed a lot of actors. If an actor has an MFA from Yale or Juilliard, will he or she be great at acting in my product? I have come to a realization, no. The reason is all that skill set you learn is not beneficial to me if you don't have the skill set or the ability to follow the arc of my characters in a screenplay or act within given circumstances. And then I don't care what kind of degree or school you went to. A lot of these schools are great in teaching you how to analyze a play or do a scene and work on voice and speech and body and movement and stuff. But say you live in Brooklyn, right? So you say there's a show, network show, without giving any names. They say we need a French Canadian and she runs a pastry shop.
Mm-hmm.
Your agent says there are 4 lines and tape your audition and do that. Now, you have no clue how the rest of the episode, 30 minutes episode of, say it's a crime show, and you have no other clue. There are a million French Canadians, right? What specific French Canadian they want, I don't know. Million in terms of Canada.
Yeah, okay. Because I was
And
like in New York,
New
I'm
York,
not sure.
no, I get it. And what kind of like is she more powerful, more polite? There could be tons of questions which you are used to if you're coming out of an MFA program. You are so used to that, and I think that has been my struggle. And when we were doing the series, I would send them script because an actor say is playing supporting and they're in 3 episodes, and I send them a script 2 or 3 days in advance, and I expect them to have an idea and come. But if an actor sits there and asks me a lot of questions, most likely I'm not going to work with them, sadly. Why? Because for me, time is money. If the crew has been hired and I have blocked that time within 10 hours, say we have to film 6 pages or
What
4
about
pages.
rehearsals though? I like doing rehearsals when I film with actors, and then they can ask questions. And...
Sure. But no, I learned this from, so one of my mentors, or acting coach, who still is a coach in New York City. So he taught me, I learned from him because he had a lot of experience of working with and working for network shows. And one of my favorite shows were CBS, their Rhythm of Acting. Although my show is not on that rhythm, it's slower. But that rhythm of CBS and how they used to make those shows. So the best thing I learned from him was when you're given a show, no, sorry, script, get the information that you can get out of those lines and act it out. The director can make the adjustments.
Yeah.
But if you hesitate in acting out because you like, I don't know what he wants and all that, your performance will come across poor performance, first of all, because you don't know each other. And so the rehearsal, when you're doing an episodic, like we had, we filmed that for 3 years.
Okay.
And we're filming like 3 to 4 days a week, sometimes 2. So this show wasn't designed to have a collective rehearsal and table read and all that. And even like big movies I've seen. Yesterday I had a guest and who decided not to talk about her participation in a couple of movies with Bob De Niro and other couple of guys. I just dropped the name, sorry. And these like the rules she was saying are so strict. You were given only this much piece, and then you can't ask the question because they are A-listers, and you can't look in their eyes. It doesn't matter. You don't feel connected. You have to just look at the ear and feel
Okay, so
connected.
you have a kissing scene. You're not even looking.
I don't know. I don't think she did a kissing scene. But
Can you imagine?
yeah. Sometimes the things are very different when you're working with A-list.
So I think for me, like I've done a lot of like self-funded or like low budget productions, especially like with my short, like the Mark. we literally had the location for such a short time,
Mm.
and I didn't do rehearsals. And I wish I did, because like I know the actors were telling me that it was hard for them. We had like 2 takes max, like 2 takes, and we had to like move on and move on, because we were given those amazing opportunities for like locations. For example, we shot in the tunnels where Riverdale shoots. It's in a museum kind of like north of Vancouver, and like we were fortunate to be sponsored by them, and so they only charge us for like the person who was going to be there.
Mm.
But they're like, okay, but you have like 8 hours like tops. And then we had to shoot like so many pages. So I know like for next time, like if I do something like that, like another passion project, I think I'd like to do rehearsals, just so like we're comfortable, and when we go there it's like it's the war, and we're like getting the camera in and let's go like tack tack, and we're
No, I think it's great. More rehearsals are always better, right? But the thing is, say you get cast in. I still remember there's another gentleman in the city. I shouldn't mention the name, but he has been on a crime series, and it's still a show, ongoing show still.
Mhm.
And he used to help people audition. So his argument was the same, that this is the scene. And
Mhm.
also, here's another thing. So I remember there was a scene he was teaching us, and he was like, okay, here's a TV, you're watching this news, but there won't be any TV. There might be green screen, there might not be. And your part will be filmed, and you don't know the other person you're going to talk to.
Mhm.
So when you are thrown into those challenges, and maximum director will just film 2 takes, and also I think, if I remember correctly, he said some directors, because these shows directors keep on changing,
Mhm.
they don't even go for second take. If they don't like you in the first take, they'll send you, and then they'll tell whoever was the casting that, okay, I need
Mhm.
another person, right? Similar kind of thing I heard from one of the guys in Chicago, a great friend, and he has been on a couple of network series, and he would say that when he would go to get filmed, he wouldn't even understand why this is, well, and whom he's talking to.
Mhm.
But when the episode will come out, he'll be, oh my god, all right, that's what it is, and yeah. So if you have means, time, and power, unfortunately,
Mhm.
you don't have power over certain projects.
For sure.
So I was filming with a mindset: if there is someone in my project, and if they survive this, well, first of all, I wasn't kicking them out after 2 takes. I was spending a lot of time in helping them
Yeah.
still, right? But it wasn't that we're going to have like a table read for an hour still. No. Okay, let's go over the scene a couple of times. Do you have any questions? And I would help them add more like a physical action to enhance their emotional reality, and
Yeah.
then the emotional reaction to the expression, sorry, to the camera and the scene partner. But in a way, indirectly, I was training them to be self-sufficient if they are called to act on a network show, or even like a multi-million-dollar movie where they are working with an A-list
Yeah.
actor or actress, and they don't have any freedom to look into their eyes or smile or ask, "Hey, I'm nervous. Are you okay?" Right? Unless you're working with there are people like George Clooney as an example.
Who eats with the background actors, I heard.
I don't know. Do you, George? I don't know. But I heard from I think another female actress who worked with him, and up in the air maybe, and he asked her, "Are you nervous?" And she said yes, and he said, "Me too." Right. So there are people who'd make you comfortable and all that, but not everyone. There will be people uh, who will just come and sit next to you, and
Yeah.
it's so actually interesting. There was a short film I was in, and the guy wasn't that famous, but he didn't have a scene with me,
Mm-hmm.
but I just observed the body language. It was so cold and unwelcoming, and the guy just sat and. Now whoever went director says action and go, hey, I love you, honey, right?
Yeah.
And then back to whatever,
Yeah.
which makes it more awkward and hard if you're not used to that.
Yeah.
Because have you heard this? Like, oh, she's not giving me anything, or he's not giving me anything. Can you ask that if the
Yeah.
guy? Usually, I think if a guy is a very stern face, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I don't know what to do. So you have to come up with your own choices and assumptions. That's what he's telling me.
Yeah.
And
Doing the auditions with my partner is really like, so he's not an actor, but he's so sweet. He helps me with all my auditions, but
great. That's why you have partners.
but again, he's not an actor. So like I really have to practice my acting because he's gonna give me the lines like super dry.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I have to be like, oh my god, like, you know, or
Yeah.
cry or like so I guess like that's good practice for
It is. It is.
yeah.
Especially, I mean, in this day and age where, as you guys were talking about the CGI, or half of the movies done using a green screen. Now there's an AI, right? So
Virtual
sometimes
reality.
you're. I heard from Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
He was like 16 years ago when you used to make a Bond movie, it was different.
Yeah.
Now they're going to tell you and say, oh, there's a bomb explosion. React to that. Oh, there's a gunfire. Hide yourself. And there's nothing. You are on your own. And unless your reactions are really authentic, it's going to look stupid and fake. And it doesn't matter what school you went to. You have to be so raw here, right? And listening.